Good morning, plant family and friends. My name is Carol and this is my channel, Houseplant Passion. So I thought it would be nice if we just had a little chat session today. I'm going to go over a few things I really wish I knew when I decided to try and start up the whole plant journey again after I had reformed myself from being a plant serial killer. As we've discussed before. Shh, they don't know that they came so close. Just a little bit earlier in my life and they would have been toast. Don't tell them. Anyway, so the first thing is first, okay? I guess I feel this is everyone, right? Not every leaf that turns yellow spells doom, and I don't know if it was just my past or everyone feels it and experiences it, but the first time I saw a yellow leaf like this on a plant, I went into full-blown panic mode. Like, oh my God, I'm killing one again. I thought it was done. I thought it was good. I had the right lighting. I didn't overwater. I didn't underwater. Did I overwater? That's how I kill plants. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I just started freaking out. Here's a little advice on that. This leaf right here, it has a lifespan. It is shorter than the lifespan of the plant that you have. One yellow leaf at the bottom of the foliage of your plant, which is down here, does not spell disaster for your plant. Leaves are gonna die. One or two here or there, nothing to worry about as long as the rest of your plant is thriving and just doing well. But the first time I saw one of these, I went into full-blown panic mode, and I had to bring it down because I could have overloved that plant and done some things that the plant didn't need, and I could have really hurt it, like increasing my water, increasing fertilization, moving it around in the apartment. And that's another thing. Plants in the wild grow up where their seeds are laid, right? They are used to that environment. Either they survive or they die. That being said, our poor little house plants, or not so little, like my beautiful Thai constellation monstera. She's so pretty, so lovely. Anyway, so this plant has been through a lot, right? It was grown in a greenhouse, then it was shipped in mass quantities to another place like Lowe's or some other garden center. It lived its best life in a pretty good environment if it was in a, let's say, a nursery in a greenhouse, or it was traumatized by living in like a big box store where it didn't get the right light and it was overwatered and all the things. But that's how many moves already for that poor plant? 4 by the time it comes home with you. So it's already stressed, it's already traumatized, and it's not in the normal life cycle of a plant. That is something I really wish, I should have known, right? It should have been common sense to me, but it really wasn't. So I'd bring home a plant and I'd just be like, oh, it looks good here. Oh wait, no, I think it'll look better here. Oh no, wait, oh, let's put it there. And then when my plants would get stressed, I wouldn't understand why. And then I wouldn't just normally think it's something to do with my care when it really wasn't. Thankfully for this poor girl right here, she's lucky. When I brought her home, I understood it. I put her in the best window for her, where she would get the best light for her requirements, which is on the higher side, and gave her her own humidifier so I could keep her humidity around 70% to 65 to 70%, and I haven't moved her. And I won't move her until she's on a desk, until she's so big that the desk is no longer a good place for her. But that is another thing I wish I would have known. Another thing I wish I would have known is plants themselves have a lifespan, and the lifespan of a plant outdoors in nature is going to be longer than the lifespan of a plant in your home. Ponytail palms, excuse me one second. Ugo. Hey, what you doing, buddy? It's so early in the morning when he decides he wants to play. Getting back to topic. Plants in our home, no matter how perfect we try to make the situation for them and their environment and how much we want to meet their needs, we're just not going to meet their needs to the level that nature would. And in all honesty, there's times where there's drought and there's famine in nature and plants die. It's just the cycle of life. And this beautiful plant, as much as I love her and I care for her and I water her and fertilize her, give her her own grow light, and I trim her and I give her all the things and watch to make sure she doesn't get pests, and I clean off her leaves so she doesn't have any dust between her and the light. She has a lifespan, and plants are gonna die. And honestly, even though I'm a reformed plant killer, you need to know that there are plants that you're gonna bring into your home, they're just not gonna survive. They're not gonna thrive, and they're gonna die. I brought home a butterfly syngonium earlier on in my plant journey, and she was doing great, put out 2 or 3 new leaves, and then took a nosedive. And I didn't understand why. And it turned out when I did an autopsy, I did an autopsy. I pulled her out of the dirt and I looked. She was actually in what a lot of the mass growers use. It's kind of like a netting that they put around the plants to promote faster growth. But I had no idea. And as she was growing and I was giving her all the things to thrive, the right lighting, the right water, the right fertilizer, the more she grew, the more that strangled her and her roots, and it killed her. She got root rot and she died. She couldn't get enough oxygen around those new roots, and they were strangled and they rotted, and she died. So sometimes you're set up for failure. Plants that are grown for big box stores, I mean, like I lost a money tree, the first one that I brought home. I had no idea that in the braiding process, underneath that beautiful pot with all the soil was electrical tape that they had used on the younger plant to promote growing together of those different trees, and that they could braid the trunks and make that nice, lovely braid that everybody wants when they get a money tree. That's what they're looking for. And I didn't know to look for that, and I missed it, and my plant was thriving, just doing fantastic, and then took a huge nosedive. And then I went to pick her up and look at her roots, and the actual part of the tree, the trunk, had liquefied. I was mortified, and I blamed myself until I did an autopsy. And I'm like, what in the sweet name of all is holy, or should I say unholy, is this black crap that is strangling the life out of my plant? Yeah, electrical tape. So there's things that sometimes are going to set you up for failure. Either way, sometimes the plant is just not suited for you and your environment. Let's say I wasn't committed to looking into what each one of my plants wanted, and I brought home a calathea and I put it in the corner, and I have like no light in my apartment. I have literally west-facing windows, and most of them are blocked by something. So we don't get the best light here. The best light sources are the windows behind me, west-facing. And certain times of the year, if the groundskeepers do not keep up with the bush there, that's not the best of light either, to be brutally honest. So I always have to be on top of my game, making sure that my plants aren't giving me signs that they're not getting the right light. That being said, when I started bringing plants home and they were dying on me, I didn't understand why. and I was killing them left and right. It's because I was treating them like they all came with the same care requirements. I mean, imagine if you put, let's say your cashmere sweater in the heavy load setting of your washer, and then put it in the heavy setting on your dryer. You'll pull it out and it will fit your dolls, right? If you do that to jeans, perfectly fine. Why? Because not all care instructions for clothes are the same. The same thing for plants. So most of the plants in my house need bright and direct light. I mean, they're tropical. If I brought them into my home and I didn't give them grow lights and I didn't give them all the supplementation in that aspect of it, they would do okay for a while, and then they would take a nosedive and they would start declining, and at some point they would give up the ghost, so to speak, and cross the rainbow bridge to where plants go when they move on. Another thing, I wish I would have known in my plant journey, is not every plant is gonna really like what you give it. Some plants, they don't have the best genetics either, and you have to be careful where you buy them. All my plants right now in my house, except for one or two, are surviving and they're thriving, and not all of them have the same care requirements. I have ZZ plants. You could put them in a dark room without a grow light and not give them water for 2 months, and they would not care. They'll just keep growing and giving you all the good stuff, all the new shoots and all the pretty leaves. I have snake plants. Same thing. Put them in a dark corner where they're still getting some light, something, and they're still gonna be okay. They're not gonna put out a whole bunch of new shoots of new growth. They might get a little leggy, but they're not gonna die on you, right? But there are some plants that you're gonna bring home and you're gonna look up the care requirements. You're like, oh, money plant. I'm looking at you, money plant. Money plant. I have had this money plant for 5 months, and all she has done is torture me and hate me. I give her less light, she loses leaves. I give her more light, she loses leaves. I give her less water, she loses leaves. I give her more water, she loses leaves. I move her from here, she loses leaves. I can move her there, she loses leaves. I change and I give her a repot, loses leaves. This plant hates me. So sometimes you're just gonna have a plant for you and that plant. Not good bedfellows, okay? Yeah, I'm looking at you, money plant. All my other plants, loving their lives. They love the light that they're given, the amount of water they're given, the soil they're in, the fertilizer they're given, living their best life. I also have another Calathea, the end of my existence, right? I am so successful with some of the most diva-esque plants. Stramanthes, Calatheas, Tenanthes are known to be picky, and hard to meet as far as their care requirements. Very narrow humidity that they like. They like a certain amount of light, bright and direct light, but can't be too close to light, because if even the slightest ray hits their leaves, it's gonna burn them. Gotta be preventative with pests. I shower mine off at least once a month, wipe down the leaves. They don't like, extremes and like shifts in their temperatures. And sometimes you'll meet all those things. And I have a Calathea fasciata. She just has struggled throughout the winter. And there were times her leaves would get stuck. I gave her a humidifier. It didn't help. So they wouldn't get stuck, but then she would unfurl and there would be huge patches of like dead leaf and browning involved in the leaf. And then, the leaves would crisp up around the ends. And I'm like, oh, I'm not watering you any different. I actually have pulled back on watering you because, you're not growing as much. Well, now I guess you want more water. And she just kept me, going back and forth and chasing my tail. And it ended up that even though she wasn't directly under a vent, and she was like 3 to 4 feet from a vent that wasn't even aimed her direction, she didn't like that. And that was making her environment a little too stressful, dropping her humidity a little too much, and she was crisping her leaves. So I really had to be willing to try and figure out what was going on with her. And there was a couple times I thought of tossing her in the bin, just giving up, because she made me feel like such a failure. There were some times where I'm just like, I'm so tired. Why are you torturing me? I just want to do the best I can for you. I'm doing all the things I can. Tell me. The problem is the plants, they can't tell you. So you have to figure out the plant that you're willing to invest in, that you're willing to look up, the needs, and your environment, no matter what it is going to meet them. And if it doesn't, what you're going to have that as far as requirements to meet the needs of that plant. Like the Stramanthes, oh, beautiful, and the Calatheas, and all the other things. Another thing I wish I knew when I brought plants into my life was the commitment. There is a absolute 100% commitment. And when I made the decision to move my plant collection from 5 up to 80, up to 90, up to 100, it's a commitment. So you have to be really, really honest with yourself. What type of lifestyle you have and the time you have to spend on that kind of investment in the green leafy life that you have in your home. I have 100 plants. I check these plants every other day to see if they need to be watered. Does every plant need to be watered every day? No. I use a moisture meter because, again, as I said earlier, and in 1001 videos, I was a plant killer. I overloved my plants with water. So I go around 2 to 3 times a week and I put the moisture meter in every single one of my plants. When they get to a certain level relative to that plant, I give them water. Even though I don't water every single plant every single time I do this, it takes me an hour to do this. So I am losing, you could, if you want to think of it that way, an hour of my time, 2 to 3 days a week doing plant care. And that's not even the once a month where I do deep cleaning of my plants. And deep cleaning 10 plants does not take up the time that deep cleaning and pest inspecting 100 plants does. Relative to the watering, that 2 to 3 times a week that I do, I'm also eyeballing, do I have a lot of leaves that are turning green, or from green to yellow? Do I have a lot of struggle on that bus that is that plant? Do I see anything crawling around on it? I mean, there's times I've went to water a plant and I've seen eggs on it. I'm like, what in the sweet Satan spawn is that? And I've put it on plant groups and it was stink bug eggs. Ew. So you never know what you're gonna find on your plants. But every time I do my, watering of my plants, I'm also looking for things like that to see if my plant might be in trouble, rotating it a little bit if it looks like they're growing a certain way towards a grow light more than the other way, or their light source, that sort of thing. So plants are a commitment. It's all relative to how many you have, the type you have, and what you're willing to put into it. Finally, another thing to keep in mind is plants do not stay the size that they are when you buy them, okay? This plant, is she gonna get ginormous, this Calathea mosaica? No, she's not. Is she gonna stay the size? Not really. She's probably gonna, sprout out more. Is she gonna get a lot taller? Not a huge amount, right? But now my Monstera, is she gonna be able to sit in that area, the perfect area where she loves her life, where she's got the perfect lighting and everything is wonderful with the world for the rest of her life? No. She is not. She is gonna get big. She's gonna spread out, and she's gonna need a moss pole, or she's gonna need some kind of support. Now she's a juvenile, she's a baby. Within the next couple months, I'm going to be giving her some support in the back so she can climb. The more she climbs, the bigger her leaves will get, the more striations she'll give me. It's gonna set her up for success. But can she stay where I saw her and thought, oh, this is the perfect place for her? No. So when she outgrows that place, I'm going to have to think about how I can adjust my care for her and my environment to meet the needs of this plant, which means I'm probably gonna have to get different grow lights. I'm gonna have to find a different place in my apartment to put her. So it's gonna probably be a little bit of a traumatic experience for her as well as for me. But in the long run, you have to look at a plant that you pick up in the shop and think, oh, this is perfect for blah, 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 blah. Hold up, Buttercup. Just do a little research. How big is this plant gonna get? Are the needs gonna change of that plant as it gets bigger, as it grows, as it, matures? Is there gonna be different needs from, the plant parent, that sort of thing? So those are some of the things I wish I knew. Plants, they have a certain lifespan. Leaves, the same thing. One final thing I wish I knew, it's an ecosystem, and you're bringing part of an ecosystem into your home. You're bringing plants into your home. The ecosystem outside, pests go along with the territory with plants. That's just the truth. There's pests that's how they survive. They eat your plants, they suck the sap, they do all the things. There's also beneficial bugs outside that, it's eating that plant, and those bugs know to look in that area to eat the bugs that are bad for the plant. So there's a balance in the system outside. When you bring plants in your home, it's not, how can I put it? It's just not, you can't really expect to own plants and not at some point encounter pests. And anyone that is going to tell me they've never had pests in their home, lies. Because we all know those super annoying spawns of Satan fungus gnats. Can I get a, oh yeah? They fly around, they go up your nose, you accidentally swallow them, they bounce off your eyeball, they're flying all over the place, super annoying. They're more of a nuisance than anything else, but they come along the territory of having plants, right? There's things to do, to put in your plant to get rid of them. I do it as well. I get mosquito bits, I put it in the top, a couple inches of soil. I have those little sticky, sticky gnat catchers that I put in some of my plants where their soil is kind of like, the perfect breeding ground for it because they like the drier soils, that sort of thing. You're gonna have pests come into your home at some point. Spider mites, I've had spider mites. First time I saw spider mites in one of my plants, I was just so upset. I felt like a bad plant parent. Like maybe I didn't, inspect it good enough. I didn't do enough for it. I didn't clean it enough. I didn't, a couple of my other plants were too close to it, and then I had to treat them too, and it was kind of traumatic for the plants. I felt like such a bad plant parent, but you know what? It's gonna happen. I have plants near those windows in the wintertime. They're not gonna be moved until closer to more of the summertime. They're not the best windows. Pests are gonna find a way. All I can do is fertilize my plants, give them the best nutrients I can, give them showers once a month, make sure to inspect them, and just try to be on top of it. You're just gonna have bugs in your home. One final thing I wish I knew bringing plants into my home, if you are a super, super crazy person about being clean and organized and everything being in its place and perfect, plants are not for you. I have calatheas, these little bitty, super pretty, white and purple leaves. they last a couple days, and then I walk in and I see, what is this all over my floor? I just swept. Oh, those are dead, flower petals. Every time I go by and, I check a plant to see if it needs to be watered, a little bit of the ground, the substrate gets stuck to my fingers or whatever I've used, and it ends up on the floor. Maybe a leaf, something was stuck to it and kind of falls on the floor. Fungus gnats, like we said before, you're gonna have them if you have plants in your home. They have a shelf life too. You're gonna find them in places that disgust you, like your dog's water, or your coffee cup, or your wine, or windowsills in the dew, just stuck there. If you can't handle that part of it, then it's gonna drive you absolutely insane. And that's when you have to think, the pleasure of owning the plant, does it counterbalance the stress of not having a perfectly clean floor, or having carcasses of fungus gnats stuck to in little places in your home? Only you can answer that for yourself, right? But these are little things I wish I knew before I brought plants back into my life. Would I have changed anything? No. I still think losing a plant here or there, it's sad, and it was upsetting, but in the grand scheme of things, each plant I lost, it taught me a lesson. And if I can take that lesson and I can share it with y'all, that's awesome. And if I can tell you, hey, I lost a money tree because it was strangled to death, and the trunks were liquefied because they wrapped something around the trunks, and it killed my plant, and I can keep that from happening to you, it was worth every tear I cried, right? These are the things that I feel that even though it's sad, I lose a plant every once in a while, or I have a plant, no matter what I do for it, it still is like, no, I don't want to do anything for you. I'm not going to give you a new leaf, and I'm not going to get any bigger, and I'm not going to give you any babies. It all comes with the territory. And if you're going through that and you're having struggles, normal, and it's going to go along with being a plant parent. So if you found this video helpful in any way, helped you feel a little bit better about your plant journey, please give it a like and subscribe. And until we meet again, give all your plants some wonderful, wonderful green plant parent love. Until next time.